So, Mark Harman, welcome to the Disenfranchised. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. You all right?
Living the dream over here, mate. Living the dream. So, good to catch up with you. Actually, we talk quite a bit, don't we? So, I know a fair bit about you and what you're doing, but I probably don't know so much about your career and how you got to this point, really. So, yeah, I guess the best place to start is to find out what was your first job.
Yeah, this is a. I've got. I don't know how far to go back because I don't. I don't think I should go as far back as paper round. So I'm gonna go like first. Well, last job before I started doing this. And anyone who knows me or has worked with me, they know I mention this all the time. But I used to work in Argos, and in particular, I used to work in the stock room. So this is like during the time during uni, and then after uni, as I was setting up the business as well. So I started Redbook in 2011, and I worked in Argos from 2009 to 2014. Uh, and there were times when, like, whilst I was setting up, I was meant to be sending stuff down the belt, as you did in Argos, like you send items down the belt. But I was on the phone to like a video client, and my boss ran upstairs and like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm on the phone, sorry." And I was just like in the toilet on the phone to someone talking about filming their like golf event when I was meant to be sending stuff down the belt, like kettles and wardrobes and stuff. But there was like a massive backlog upstairs. But yeah, like I started working at Argos in 2009 at uni, and at first like I hated it, but then like I sort of realized you sort of mature a little bit, and I just wanted to become like the best stockroom person there was. So like a little
Yeah,
change of like mindset, and I would sort of really want to be the best at like whatever job I was doing. So I think probably about 2011, 2012, as I was setting the business up, I decided to become like the best delivery person and the best stockroom person. So like the speed I would put items away at would be really, really quick, like compared to other people. So I
it,
was like the best at delivery.
it sounds like you love that job, mate. Like, are you sure you don't want to go back to that
Yeah,
one?
I don't want to go back because it was so monotonous. And you had like these headsets on where like you'd be saying like like numbers of the catalog numbers, and then you put them on the shelf, and it would be like 3, 4, 6, 8, 1 alpha, 1 ready, and then you just say that all day. And like I remember, like if it didn't if it didn't quite understand what you'd say repeat. I remember being in Sainsbury's after work with my mate, and he'd say something to me. I didn't quite hear him, and I just went repeat without even thinking about it because it was just like so like monotonous and repetitive. So like instead of saying "What was that, mate?" I'd say repeat because I'd just be saying it all day. So I enjoyed doing this a lot more than I did in the Argos stockroom. But the people I work with in Argos, are like I'm still in contact with quite a few of them now. Like we go to cinema together, or we go to like play FIFA in the evening, uh, and like it's there. Yeah, it was fun because you could sort of fuck around a little bit. Uh,
Yeah.
but like at the end of the day, I wanted to be really good at it, even though it was just sort of quite a monotonous job. But
Yeah, yeah,
um,
I know that feeling. I
yeah,
think it's something interesting about doing monotonous jobs because eventually you get to the point where you start to become more creative. I found actually, like you just start coming up with different nicknames for each other would be the one thing that
yeah,
I would do. So I used to put up marquees for a living, as many people will know.
yeah.
And one of the tasks in doing that during the winter, when there's not so many marquees going out, was cleaning the covers.
All right,
So
yeah,
literally all day long, you're just cleaning on a table, and it's yeah, it's boring. It's boring as hell. So yeah, we just start to kind of nicknames for each other and play silly games and have races, and it
mm,
just starts to build a bit of a camaraderie, doesn't it? Because you're kind of all mucking in together, and
yeah.
yeah, it's nice to hear that that wasn't just in what I was doing. It's out there in every
Oh
business, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
But
Like in the stockroom, like you would hide from each other because the stockroom's like there's loads of like little hiding places you can go to. So like you'd pretend like to be off, like finish your shift, and you'd go out one door and then another. So there'd be one person in the stockroom, and then you just wait for them to go down an aisle, and then just scare the shit out of them. So it's quite at times it was good fun because you just fuck around. But it was good.
brilliant,
It was good
brilliant.
fun.
So I want to go and kind of go back a little bit then to your uni days. You said
Yeah.
you were at Argos while while you was at uni. So what were you doing at uni? What was the subject?
Yeah, I'm sort of one of the people that has continued to do something they did at uni and into a job. So I did film and cinema technologies and film studies. So that involved for
Cool.
3 years just making films and watching films, which it sounds like one of the easiest uh, degrees you can get, because it's just literally just doing having fun and watching films and then writing about it, and then just making films with your mates, like at night in a car park, or like in a graveyard or in the woods, and just like having fun for 3 years and making all these different little films. And I would just like, when I was not making films for my course, I would be making films with my mates as well. So like just going off and making like 2 minute films, like even like 10-minute stuff, like just making short films. Because you had like access to all these cameras and all this editing like software and uh, just all this stuff for free.
Yeah.
Well, not free because I'm in a lot of debt for it, but like included in your student loan. So I think that was, yeah, I had so much fun doing that as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So it almost sounds like too much fun, and something I wish I'd have done much younger. Got into an industry like that, but you then said you carried on with Argos after university. So at what point did you then kind of go, right, that's it, I'm doing this on my own? And did you look for jobs at the same time?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
was going through your mind at that
So there
time?
was sort of like a 4 year crossover, or 3 year crossover from 2011 to 2014, where I was slowly building it up, um, and like getting filming jobs whilst I was working in Argos. So like if things were going badly, I'd be working in Argos a bit more, just to like get money in. And I moved back to Hampshire at this point, so I'm from Kent. I moved back to Hampshire with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, um, and like slowly built it up. And I think I could have left Argos earlier, but it was just sort of like that sort of scary feeling of like, oh, how do I um, make this jump? Because it felt like a massive jump, and like if I failed at it, I wouldn't have anywhere to live, and it felt like there was a lot of stake. But like,
Yeah.
but eventually, I got to the point where I was 25, and I was like, it was my 25th birthday, like that week, and I thought I cannot still be working here when I'm 30. So I literally, on my 25th birthday, I gave my notice in. I worked my week's notice. I was asked to work a month's notice, but I said if I carry on a month, I will just not. I'll just I'll carry on working there forever. So I was like, I need to get out. So it was a big jump, but I think for that first year, 2014 to 2015, where um, um, it was like that was a bit of a struggle that first year just on my own. But from like 2015 onwards, it started to like you could see it was working, and it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be my full time job, and I'm gonna be all right doing this. And then
So
it's slowly sort of grown from there.
it took kind of 4 years for you to take that leap. Is
Yeah,
that
and I
right?
think purely because like just fear and not knowing, and like not having something to fall back on was like a worry.
How many
Um,
clients did you have? How many clients had you had and serviced by that time?
yeah,
You sound like
quite
you're
a
doing
few.
stuff in your spare time. So
Yeah, I didn't really have any like retainers or anything like that. I just had like project work, which would be like every month I'd have like new projects. So it's kind of like I've got to get this, I've got to get this, I've got to get another one. Like every month it was just like I've got to do the same again. So it was like it was crazy, but I still managed to do it because I had to. There's no other option. So I was networking everywhere, and I remember when I first started networking, I didn't have a car, so I'd like get a bus or a number of buses or a number of trains to get to like different networking places. Um, and then like my granddad gave me a car because he was getting rid of his car, so it's like his old Corsa, probably not worth a lot of money, but he gave me his car, and that was like a huge thing. So then I could go and
yeah, I
network
bet.
and drive to places. Like I remember once I was filming somewhere and I had to get the bus and the train, and it was snowing. I had to walk like 2 miles through the snow with all my gear, like lights, camera, like all icy roads and pavements and everything to get to this place where I was filming. And I got there, and she's like, "Oh yeah, so the roads weren't too bad then." And I was just like, "Oh yeah, it's fine." Like I had to lie to her about driving there when in fact I'd walked like 2-3 miles in the snow with all this
No
stuff.
way.
But yeah, like that was like look back on it, it's hard work, but it's good fun to do that.
Yeah,
And then
and I
you,
guess part of the decision was with your partner at the time. Did she have much of a say in what you were doing? Because I'm guessing if you're
oh
living
yeah,
together,
yeah. So she's
you know,
obviously really supportive, um, and sort of like encouraged me to do it. But I think I didn't need that much encouragement because it's something I wanted to do. And I find this with people that like if they're going to start their own business, if you really want to do it, you'll make sure you do it. So like I think I didn't need any more encouragement that I was getting. I just needed that support to say like, yeah, it's okay, you can do it. But like before that, like with other bits, like when I said like I worked at Argos and jobs before that, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm just doing a job. But with this, it was just like I wanted to do it, and it wasn't even like a thought process in my mind. It was just like that's what I do. I go out, I get up, and I do it every day, every day, every day, and I work really hard to get there. Um, and really push it because there's
Yeah.
probably that fear as well, but also because that's I really wanted it. And I think, yeah, like with other people that start their own business, if they really want it, they will just do it. It just happens because they really want it.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to get to that point where you've got that big idea or you know what you want to do, though, isn't it? I don't think once you get to that point you'll ever overcome that fear.
Mm.
So you've got to have that real core reason as to why you need to be self-employed. I think I've spoken to a lot of people over the years who think they want to be self-employed, but really they just want a better employer, or a
Yeah,
better career or change what they're doing, and that's achievable, but it can be difficult. But I think to be truly self-employed, you have to have a real driver and a real reason to do that. So what for you was what was that? Was it because you just wanted to do video and couldn't see that there was a job out there for you, or you wanted to have control over the projects you were working on?
yeah.
What was the key driver for
I
you?
think that's how it started. Was like because when I left uni, I applied for like jobs in TV and film, and I probably didn't apply to that many places, and I didn't really know. Like I was quite scared of putting myself out there and of getting any job. And all I heard back from like these places was, "Oh, you need more experience. You need more experience, more experience." So I just thought, right, I'm just going to go and do my own experience and like set up my own thing, and then I'll go and get a job in like TV or film or whatever, and just work out from there. But like I'd never really gone and done that, and that's like 11 years later now. uh, so yeah, I just started to think, oh, I could just do this as my job. And I really enjoyed it, and I liked working. Like at first, it was terrifying because I had to put myself out there and I had to stand up in front of people and talk. And I'd never really done that at school or at uni, like anything like that, and done presentations and spoken about stuff. But like, I put myself out of my comfort zone constantly to try and like get better at talking in front of camera, get better at filming and creating stuff and learning and just every day like pushing myself. And although that's really uncomfortable, um, it's just yeah, you slowly start to enjoy it and get used to it and get good at it and like you just talk to people really naturally and then like the business just grows from there.
Yeah, sure. So I want to know the day one looks like. What
Yeah.
did you do on day one?
So this is a good story actually. So I remember I quit my job at Argos. It was probably on the Saturday, and I think on the Monday I was filming. And I still talk about this now as one of the most memorable videos I made because I had it booked in already. But it was for I've done a few bits for these since actually, but it was for a microscope company. So it's Pocket Microscope, but it's like as good as a lab microscope. And they were looking for like crowdfunding. And the example they were doing was looking for worms in horse poo. So literally, my day one, I was knelt in a field, uh, like looking at horse poo under a microscope for worms.
Amazing. Living the dream, huh?
Yeah. So, but I was like, this is like everything's gonna be different. Like every day will be different. But like I always talk about that day as like weirdest video I've ever done, and that was it. Because it's just like, but that felt really cool because it's like, yeah, every day is gonna be different, and every video I do is gonna be weird and different, and yeah, but I'll
Sure.
be able to talk about it.
I'm glad it wasn't like you went back into a stock room or something
Oh
like that and
yeah.
just started filming stockroom footage for I don't know, ice stock or something like
Oh yeah.
that.
That would be boring, isn't it?
But yeah, okay, cool. So obviously that now you've been running since 2011, so that's 11 years now. You've had this business going,
Yeah.
and you eventually found the franchising industry and have started to work with some franchisors. So how did that kind of come about, and yeah, how did you find the industry?
Yeah. So that all came through because I work sort of hand in hand with Coconut. So I work separately from them with other franchises as well. But a lot of the relationship, well, pretty much all the relationships within the franchise industry and the work within the franchise industry has come through my relationship with Coconut. And the way that happened was, like, I met Adam Lovelock from Coconut in about 2013 when he was running Astonish Email with other Big Adam. So there's Little Adam and Big Adam. And I like knew him and I chatted to him a few times. So I knew him for about 2 3 years, probably about 2 years before he started working with Coconut. So I think he started working with Coconut in about June 2015. And I remember the day that that call was coming, because we had a networking meeting, and he was like, "Oh, I've got this call with this woman, it's called Sarah, who runs Coconut." Um, and he started telling me about it, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds really cool." And then, yeah, I moved into their office in September 2015. So I sort of wheedled my way in. Uh, and so just had a desk in their office, which is just up the hall from here. For about 3 years, I was in like working in their office and just doing my own thing, but also sort of slowly working my way in as well.
Yeah, yeah,
So I started doing their videos like 2015, 2016, and then like slowly doing their clients' videos and like later on, and then slowly sort of become someone who knows about video within the franchise industry because of my relationship with them. So now I'm in the same building, but I'm down the hall. I still have a key for their office as well. So like I have no sunlight in here, so
yeah.
whenever I
I
feel
know it
like,
well.
yeah, whenever I want to like get out of here and like into some sunlight, I just go and sit up there with Adam, who still works up there. Everyone else kind of works from home now because of after pandemic, everyone just stayed there. But yeah, like whenever I feel a bit lonely, just go and chat to Adam up the hall.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
cool. So, what were your thoughts about the franchising industry before you sort of found Coconut? Because I think most people I speak to, it's just yeah, I haven't got a clue what this is. It's not for me. It's not. It's just for like rich people, you know, who
Yeah, right. Yeah.
just want to buy a business or something like this, buy McDonald's and have other people run it. You know, what was your thoughts around it?
Yeah.
Anything different?
So mine were like I kind of knew a little bit about it, but it was kind of like people that would buy franchises would be people that had been made redundant and had like a big pot of cash, and then they'd they'd buy a franchise. So like it was something they always wanted to do, but they wanted that support from another business rather than doing their own thing, because then they'd have that network within like the other franchisees they could talk to, and also they'd have like help from the franchisor, so it'd be like much less likely to fail because they'd have like a whole sort of plan of what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. So it's like a little safer way for people that had a little pot of money to start their own business. That's what I
Yeah.
kind of thought. Yeah.
All right, cool. So you were ahead of me then at that point in time, really, in knowing what the industry was about, because
Yeah.
I
Like
had no idea really.
I've
But
done a lot of
do
networking,
you
I
think
think.
your viewpoint has changed now you've been working in the industry for a bit longer?
Yeah, I think there's probably other people as well that maybe have always wanted to run a franchise, and it's like so they've or like people that do have multiple different franchises. So they have like maybe one in one sector, one in another. So it's all different people. It's not just people that have been made redundant. It's sort of it's a bit wider than that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So working with Coconut Creative, then obviously you've been involved in some interesting projects. The Masters of Business show, the Mob Show as it's known, and the franchise marketing show. So, what kind of the inspiration behind those, and yeah, what was involved in them? Let's start with the Mob Show first.
Yeah. So if you've spoken to Adam, he might not have mentioned this, but I'd been pushing Adam for years to do a show or a podcast because I thought it's a really good way of sort of standing out and like showcasing what Coconut do, and a really good way of like repurposing that content as well. So with the Mob Show, it came about after the first lockdown, I think, where it was
Yeah,
like let's get there was Adam and Sean sort of come up with the idea after I'd said we need to start doing this, and then they're like, oh, we've got this great idea. So obviously, if it's the same idea I've had, I'm just like, yeah, great, let's do it. Uh, so it was a live show where we'd get guests on, and the idea was that, like it'd be all sorts of different people. It wouldn't just be sort of franchise related people. It would be like people without outside the franchise industry, not even like marketing related, but just interesting people, and then see how we could bring that back into the franchise industry. So like some really good guests we had. Did you know? Yeah, Hide the Pain Harold, who's like a living meme.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
had him
I
on.
remember that
Yeah.
episode. Yeah.
We had Emma Kenny, who's like the psychologist on This Morning. That was a really good guest. And then like cryptocurrency people. Um, we had a Christmas special where it was like someone who runs uh, Christmas land in like some place in America. We had her on. That was really good, and like loads of other different people. So it was a live show that went out like every Friday, I think. So Adam and Sean would be in here, and then we went into lockdown again. They would be at home, and we'd be like live broadcasting from their homes, and I'd be sort of running it from my desk here. But yeah, if we hadn't had those other lockdowns, I think it'd been better having it in the studio here. But then it is a big ask to do live video every week and get everyone in and do a lot of live video. So
Yeah.
it's tough to do a live video with when you've got so many moving parts like guests and different presenters. Um, but yeah, that was sort of the foundation of the mob show.
Sure. So how do you think that was benefiting the franchise community?
Because
What do you think it
yeah,
was providing to the industry at the time? Because obviously COVID was a tough time for many
yeah.
brands and their franchisees as well. So the franchisors were probably watching that show, but that probably in some way had an impact on their franchisees. So yeah, what way do you think it might have had an impact for them?
Yeah, I think definitely like into lockdown, people look to people like Adam and Sean for like guidance and advice because there's so much that was up in the air. So people like Adam and Sean were given answers where people were asking loads of questions. So they gave so much support to people with on the franchise group. I can't remember what it's called. What's it called?
Franchise mastermind.
Franchise Mastermind, that's it. So on the Franchise Mastermind, you had franchisees and franchisors just asking all these questions about um, like what kind of support they could give their franchisees, like how they're going to continue running during COVID, and like people on there were just giving loads of good answers. I was on there as well, like giving video advice and like trying to find out how to make like live videos and stuff, and everyone was jumping on that and asking loads of questions. So that group during that time was a really good place, and Adam and Sean and people like Adam and Sean were giving so many were just there with the answers when everyone had so many questions. So I think that was really important.
Yeah, definitely. Did that make you feel closer to the industry at all?
Yeah, I think definitely. Just because I've had people since like they've known me because of the videos I was doing during lockdown. So that's quite cool to have that. And like affiliation with Coconut and the mob show and the franchise marketing show. I think it's good because you're there for people that have got questions about stuff. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
during COVID and lockdown especially, like there was a lot of questions that people needed to be answered.
yeah, definitely. And I think for me, I was working franchisor side, right? So I was in the franchise recruitment team for expense reduction analysts, and I came across the group, and it was extremely helpful for a lot of things, really. And I also found it was quite a nice place for me to be to share my knowledge with other people and help them during a challenging time for them because at that point in time, expense reduction analysts, we were flying. It
Mm.
was actually a good period of time for us. So yeah, it was good to be able to help other people and that was probably about the time when I realized there was this great community. I think the mob show really helped to show that actually we're all here together helping each other and yeah, it was almost surprising to see people giving away free advice and free support. But now I dig deeper into the industry, it's everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's what the franchising community is all about. Once you kind of step away from their brands, specifically, these are really knowledgeable entrepreneurs that can help that do help each other out to build a better business and get through tough periods of time.
yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
I like that, but it's also where I discovered you and the work you were doing as well, to be honest. And well, we well, actually, I'm going to share a little story with you. I can't remember if I've told you this or not, but about how we came to sort of working together. So I was looking to do more video work with expense reduction analysts and get more out there into social media. We were putting um, posts out there on the occasional basis, and just a lot of them were kind of reusing old content, which was good, but yeah, I just was struggling to come up with ideas on a regular basis, so needed to plan ahead and find a video strategy. And at that time, there was another videographer who was giving me loads of advice for free on LinkedIn as a platform on how to use Premiere Pro, and I learned a lot from just watching his videos, and it was awesome. And then I came across you on the Mob Show, and then started watching some of your videos doing a similar thing, on how to create the ideal franchisee testimonial video and things like this. And yeah, I at that point was like, okay, I've got to contact these two guys to find out what they can do. And yeah, the other guy, he wasn't so open with me straight up. He was kind of like, let's just get things over the line, and then we'll talk about strategy. Whereas you kind of approached me in a very different way. You actually recorded yourself with a whiteboard and said, "Here's my strategy for what we could be doing with ERA," and that to me was like, wow, this guy knows his stuff. He gets the industry, and yeah, it's just it's a no brainer. So we then came up with the idea to create Consultancy Insight Show, didn't we? Which yeah, I feel like is completely different to what any other brands out there were doing at the time. So perhaps, yeah, talk about it from your point of view. What was your interaction with us as a franchisor with a completely different perspective? What challenges did that throw up for you, and what did you learn about franchisors from that kind of engagement?
Yeah, I think within the franchise industry, I think it's important to know how it works if you're going to like make videos within it, because you need to know um, like where the videos, who's going to be watching the videos, and like the end goal for why you're doing it. Um, so I think that's really important, and it's good that you said that. It looked like I knew what I was talking about within the franchise industry, because that's good. Uh, so yeah, just my experience was like I had a few ideas of like how different franchises could use like this longer form content and this longer shows. So I sort of pitched that idea to you. I think it was one of a few ideas, wasn't it? There's a few different ideas I came up with.
Um, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember that one.
this
So
was definitely the one I wanted you to go with anyway. So yeah, it's just creating that longer form content and then sort of chopping it down to little bits as well. So you're not just it's not just one show; it's just all this promotional stuff off the back of it. Um, so yeah, I think that was really important, and um, yeah, I think it was important for me to learn about how ERA worked as well, and like what kind of guests you wanted to get on, and what kind of messages you wanted to put across as well. So I think my role in that sort of first interaction was just to find out more about how it all worked, because I sort of know how franchises work, but I wanted to know how sort of ERA works as well. So yeah, you were sort of my main point of contact with that. And I'm like the end products and the videos that we made around that and the way that it's presented on the website. That I'm really proud of how that works, and I still send people that as an example, like a year later. So I think that's really cool.
with my ugly mug on there, yeah, great. But yeah, no, it was a good experience for me. I learned quite a lot from that, and yeah, it's got me thinking kind of more recently about the franchisees themselves. So and how they can be using video and longer form content. I've started to see people in expense reduction analysts create kind of like video series. So I'm just thinking, let's look at it for a minute from the perspective of somebody who's potentially going to become um, a franchisee for whatever brand it is. Business development is something that's really going to be top of their mind on how to attract clients and engage with them. And I personally think video can be a great way to do that. But it'd be interesting to get kind of your take on, a new franchisee. How should they consider using video as part of their strategy to develop clients?
So from a franchisee's perspective, I think you need to be showing yourself as someone who knows what they're talking about. So like, and presenting yourself as that person, like you yourself being in the videos. So I think the best place to start is just by answering frequently asked questions that potential clients are going to have. So like writing down every single question you get asked, or every single question you can think of, and then just literally answering that question and then posting that out onto the platform where your clients are most likely to be. So whether that's LinkedIn, whether that's Instagram, whether that's Facebook, whether that's even like TikTok and places like that. I think it's working out how that's going to work, like where your clients going to be watching, potential clients are going to be watching, and then just answering those questions. And the more you do that, the more you post those, and the more you're sort of engaging with other people's questions as well, the more people will see you as somebody they can trust.
Sure. So I want to give you a little bit of a challenge on that one. So let's say a children's activity franchise. Okay, how can they kind of put themselves out there as as an expert on a particular topic? You know, so let's say it's a sports activity children's
Okay.
franchise.
So like look, think about who's going to be watching those videos and who's going to be coming to those classes. You're aiming it at the parents of the children. So what are their questions going to be about? Like what time does the classes start? What happens in the classes? How long do the classes last? What kind of things will their kids learn? So will it be sort of like language skills? Will it be sort of like uh, motor skills and stuff like that? Like what kind of things will they learn? And then yeah, other questions like how much does it cost? Um, yeah, there's loads of other little questions you can sort of write down. So whatever questions these parents are asking you, or questions you can sort of think of that would be based around that, just start writing those down and answering those. So some might be really obvious and some might be sort of less obvious. But yeah, that's the place to start.
And these videos, they need to be kind of filmed, you know, professionally with a flashy camera and all the lighting and in a studio, or would your kind of iPhone or Samsung phone or whatever be
Yeah,
good enough?
I think it can be. But then like if you it depends who's gonna be watching it and where they're gonna be watching it. So if it's like parents, where are they spending a lot of their time on watching videos? Is it I think you're probably looking at Instagram or TikTok for those kind of stuff. So I see a
Yeah.
lot of children's activities franchises on TikTok at the moment. So I've just started doing TikTok for the franchise marketing show and for my own videos. And there's so many kids franchises on there, and they're sort of showing like the kids playing at these classes, um, and like answering questions or just giving general advice around sort of kids' well-being. Uh, but there, if people are following those, like I've learned stuff about just from following these people in the last week or so. Uh, but yeah, I think that the ones that are already on there are doing the right thing.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And yeah, I think the franchisors are starting to get to grips with that
Mm.
pretty well. It's just the franchisees, I think, as well, that could really
Yeah.
benefit from
So,
maybe some advice from someone like you, or just getting out there and trying it. That's the thing, the
yeah.
most important thing,
So
isn't
I
it?
think
But
some franchisees would need like encouraging and pushing towards that. But I think others will just be like, oh yeah, it's part of what I need to do.
yeah, I think that's it's really important, almost for any industry, that you just factor that in, because I think a lot of people think it's either, you know, leaflet dropping, or, you know, paid advertising on Facebook, or cold calling, or email marketing. But this other approach, I guess it's like a cross between PR and marketing, by creating podcasts and videos and things like this. It's
Mm.
actually really beneficial, and positions you as the expert or the go-to brand within your local community or local area. And I think that's something really important too. So you mentioned the franchise marketing show. So what's kind of that all focused on, and who's it aimed towards?
Yeah, so it came as spawned off the back of the mob show. So like the mob show ended about June, maybe May last year, 2021. And that was purely because like Adam and Sean just didn't have time for it. So the last episode was just me and Laura, who was like the producers of it, and we were just presenting it and talking absolute rubbish in the last episode. So we started to think about how could within Coconut we continue doing a longer form show. So we wanted to focus it more on marketing and what Coconut specializes in. So talking to people that are marketers and people that really know what they're talking about in terms of different aspects of marketing. And every month to have a different person on the show. So there'd be like a studio segment at the start where it's Adam and Laura, or myself and Adam, just talking about the subject and what we already know about the subject. So whether it's LinkedIn, we've had personal branding, SMS marketing, video. We've got TikTok coming up. We've got we had a VR episode, and then the future of the internet as well, and how that's all going to work. So what we already know, and what we probably don't know, and what we want to know, and then we'd have the interview, which conducted by Adam and or myself, where we sort of talk to the expert, ask them questions about how it all works and where it fits into franchising. And that lasts sort of 15 to 20 minutes on the video version of the show, but on the podcast version of the show, it's a 40 to 50-minute interview. So it's a chopped down version on the video, but then you get something extra on the podcast. And then there's the final bit of the show where you've got like an insight from somebody within Coconut, and they give their insight onto the subject. So they've got a specialist area of expertise. So Adam Knight knows a lot about VR. Steph knows a lot about copywriting. So they give their thought on it. And then the final bit is sort of wrapping up and talking about what we've learned. And then the way that works is you off the back of that, we chop that into lots of little clips. So that goes out onto Instagram, onto LinkedIn, onto the franchise mastermind group on Facebook. And now, the last week or so, we started putting those videos on TikTok as well as little clips. And that all points people to watch the full episode on the website.
Awesome. I think it'd be interesting for anybody looking to get into business to take a look at those um, videos and shows actually, because there's some, like you say, the interviews are from people that are not necessarily from the franchising world, and they're just quite interesting. But I think, especially if you're investigating the franchise world, it'd be interesting to see the sort of advice that franchisors are getting, and
Yeah.
you could then look at your franchisor and compare that and say, okay, yeah, they're sort of following this plan. They're listening to the experts, or they're engaging with brands like Coconut to make sure that they're doing the right things to expand their business. And I think if you can see the leaders doing the right things, that's normally a good sign as well. So yeah, more information the better from my perspective. But I wanted to kind of change pace a little bit now, and find out what proud or inspiring moments have you had in your career.
There's not like one moment I can think of, but like I think there's little moments where you look at a video that you finished, or you look at a project you've done, or you hear something from someone that says like they've the videos have worked particularly well, um, or they come back to work with you again and again and again, and you know that you're doing something right. And I think that's always good. Like when someone comes back to work with you again, that's a really nice feeling. Or when like you finish a video and it does really well, or it looks, you're just really proud of how it looks, uh, or how it performs. I think it just sort of makes me feel really good. Uh, and then I sort of know I'm on the right track. So, like, although I'm not being very specific with that because I can't think of any specific examples, I know there's like little times where stuff like that happens, and it's like, oh yeah, that feels really good. Um,
Yeah, they're important to have those little boosts and to reflect back on stuff that you've done, and because it's quite easy just to say, right, that's that one completed, move on to the next one.
yeah,
So yeah, celebrate the small wins. I think a lot of people say it, right,
yeah,
which is cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's
so
nice.
like when people do come back to work with me, it's like, oh, that's good, that's cool, and I enjoy working with them again. So that's cool.
Excellent. So my final question is probably going to sort of stretch your kind of knowledge a little bit. I know you've mainly worked with franchisors and sort of supporting them in the work that they've been doing. But if you could give advice to anybody who's looking at maybe buying into the franchising industry, buying a franchise license, what would that one piece of advice be?
So yeah, I asked this question to a lot of franchisees, so I'm going to sort of relay the answer I get back. So
Yeah,
it,
of course. And this
yeah,
this is through I guess you've done a lot of franchise testimonials, right,
yeah,
for
exactly.
clients.
Yeah. So I talked to a lot of franchisees about why they bought into it. And like what you hear time and time again is to like look around at different franchises, but talk to the other franchisees as well, because they're going to be like your support network when you buy into a franchise. So talk to those and then talk about like the support that they got, how long it took them to sort of get up and running, um, like what the investment was like, what their typical day is like. I think that's a really important question as well, and really like really dig deep into what it is that they do every day and how it works, and like if it's giving them more freedom to do other stuff. And then I think it's also really important from a franchisor's perspective is to attract the right kind of people to you, but also put the wrong people off. So your franchisees should be telling potential franchisees the stuff that is bad as well. So you want to find out what the rubbish stuff is, what the really hard stuff is, so that if you can't stomach that, that should put you off. You shouldn't hear all good stuff. You should hear really horrible, bad stuff, and like all the hard work that goes into it, and how long, like if it's going to take a little while to set up. You want to hear all that as well. And then if you're still interested at the end of that, that's a good sign, um, because yeah, it's a huge investment, um, and it's going to be like your work, and it's going to be you got to have to enjoy it and love doing it. So you want to hear the good and the bad stuff from other franchisees.
Really good advice. And I should have really sort of dug into this a little bit sooner, I guess. But you've obviously spoken to lots of franchisees. So um, do you think there's any common traits in those people that have decided to go down that entrepreneurial route, but with a franchise license?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the franchise as well, because some franchises, like I've interviewed a lot of people like in elderly care, and they have a lot of similar traits in that they're like quite, they're really, really, really nice people, and they will do anything to help you. And other franchises, it varies a little bit, but I think that they all want a little bit of freedom, and they want to sort of do their own thing, and they're all really not afraid of like working really hard to do it, because they like when you first start, it's a lot of money you put on the table, and so you've got to have money for like a year or so to like pay yourself whilst you set it all up. um, and I think the common thing is they're not afraid of working really hard to make it work, because like it does pay off at the end of it, because you've got the support, and if the franchise is right and the support's right, then like after a little while it really does start to pay off, and you sort of start living this really good, like much better lifestyle than if you were just like an employee, because you can run your own thing. You've got the support there as well from the franchisor and the other franchisees, so it's not just you on your own, but you've got that other help as well.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I was going to ask you if you ever fancied working with any of
Yeah.
the franchises, but then I remembered, like, the video side of things is your kind of passion and your dream. And I don't know, are there any franchises out there that are around for videographers? Have you found any?
There's not that I've seen, but this is a question that we ask within Coconut every now and again. Like you will ask, like, if you were going to buy a franchise, which would you buy? So there's always ones that people sort of, oh yeah, I like that. I like the sound of that one. Like that, I'd be good at that. So I think that's really cool. Because I when I go and interview people, it's sometimes I do it at conferences, or sometimes I actually go to their like office, or their um like sometimes like garage or whatever, sometimes like wherever, uh and like you follow them around and like see what their day is like, so like you get a really good taste of it. So there's somewhere I'm like, oh yeah, that would be really cool doing that. uh
I guess
yeah,
you're getting like a mini discovery day, aren't you?
yeah,
Because you're
yeah.
going in.
I'm getting paid to do it.
Yeah, and getting paid to go around, have a look at the support team, what they're
Mm,
like, look at their offices, see what the business is all about, and then interview the franchisees. Like,
yeah,
yeah, a lot of people don't get all that in one day. So, yeah, that's to me is a discovery day, which for the audience is when a franchise brand will um, yeah, open up their offices, their head office, and normally with a series of presentations or do a bit of a day in the life of, so you can get a feel for what the brand is all about, and speak to maybe one or two franchisees. So yeah, I didn't think about that. You've been on loads of discovery days, haven't you?
yeah,
Then.
yeah. All over the place, all over the country as well.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, yeah, no, no, I know what you mean. As actually through doing this podcast, I've actually been really surprised about some of the brands that I've almost been very serious about thinking about joining. Because they're not in areas that I would have kind of thought, but actually you see what the people are doing day to day, and the person that's leading those groups, they're really inspiring for me.
Mm,
I've found. But yeah, not sure they think I'd be such a good franchisee. But
yeah.
yeah, there's definitely been some surprises for me. So you're right in what you said earlier in looking at other brands and yeah, really investigating all your different options before making a commitment.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think we'd better leave it there for today. Thank you so much for your time today, Mark. It's been a pleasure to get to know your background a little bit better and have just a general chat with you around franchising and videos. Um, So yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I do have an embarrassing story. If you, I thought of one. If
Oh
you want
yeah,
to hear
bring it
it.
on. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, so it's just like an ongoing joke within Coconut, where like every now and again I get a uh, client I work with who says, "Oh yeah, that's better than I expected," when they see the video that I've done. So like whenever I get a review like that, or like someone says, "Oh yeah, it's better than I expected," it's kind of always a little joke within Coconut that I'm not that good at what I do, and they're always surprised by, "Oh, that's pretty good." But I think that what they're saying is it's better than expected. They're saying I'm better than I expected I was in front of a camera, uh, which is always good. Uh, because yeah, my job is to make them look good, and I'm doing that. So that yeah, they're better than they expected. And also, I had a few times where people don't remember my name. So I had a whole day where someone kept calling me Barry or something like that, Gary or something. So like every now and again, people call me Barry or Gary for a joke. Uh,
Oh, don't. I've done that to a guy for about 2 years.
oh
Just kept
no,
calling
no,
him
it's so
Kevin
embarrassing,
and
isn't it?
found out his name wasn't
Oh
Kevin
God.
one day when he just went, "You do know my name's not Kevin, don't you?" Like, "No. Why don't you stop me before
Yeah.
now?"
Oh, yeah. Just stop me. But yeah, maybe when I first, maybe I misheard him when he said it, or like, yeah. But like, I've seen him quite a few times since, and he knows my name now, so that's good.
It's not me, is it?
No, it's not you. He knows who he is if he's watching this. He knows
Oh,
because I told
excellent.
him.
Well, Mark, thank you. It's Mark, yeah. Mark, again, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure, and yeah, we'll sort of link out to everything about you in the show notes. So yeah, thanks very much for your time, and have a good one.
Thank you. Cheers.